Welcome to Cooking with Katerina. Anybody who knows me knows I love to make bread, any kind of bread. Today we're going to make an easy naan bread. It's a keeper, so let's get started. Here are the ingredients you'll need for this easy naan bread recipe. You'll need 1½ cups of warm but not hot water, 2 tablespoons of sugar, 1 package of rapid rise yeast, 1 teaspoon of salt, 3 cups of, I use bread flour, but you can use all-purpose flour. I also have an additional almost ½ cup of flour in case I need it to mix in with the dough and then to roll it out. I have another bowl here that I'm going to rise the dough in, but before I place the dough in the bowl, I'm going to put in about 2 tablespoons of oil. I use canola oil, and we'll make sure that that bowl is completely covered so that the dough is completely, covered in the oil. So the first thing we're going to do is get our yeast to rise. So we're going to put our 2 tablespoons of sugar in with the yeast, which helps it to activate faster, and then our 1½ cups of water. So we'll give that a little stir, and we're going to put the salt into the flour and mix that, just so it's blended through. Now, we will be back to put this all together once our yeast has sat there for about 5 minutes. Okay, we're ready now to add our yeast to our flour and salt. And what we're going to do is mix this together well till it starts forming a dough. Now it will be a little sticky, so that's when you're going to use some flour to put on your hands and get it even more blended. So what I'm going to do is put this all and form it into a ball, and then I'll be back to show you how we knead it on the counter. Now here's our dough, and as you can see, it is sticky. So I place some flour on the counter, and I'm going to kind of roll it around in there. And then I'll put a little more flour on my hands, just so I can get the dough off my hands, and then we're going to work it through. So if you just put some dough on your hands like that, and kind of get the dough off your fingers, and then you can just keep kneading it into this flour that you've placed on the counter. Now, once you've done that, we'll be ready to put it in the bowl. So I'm going to finish kneading this, and we'll be back to put it in the bowl to rise. Okay, I finished kneading my dough, and it's still a little sticky, so I wanted you to see how it is. And what we're going to do now is we're going to place our oil in the bowl, and you'll take your hand and just kind of make sure it's all the way up the edges. And I always take what I call the top part, put that down first, and roll it around in that oil so that it is completely covered. So now you can cover it either with a cloth or some plastic wrap and put it in a warm place for about 30 to 40 minutes. I'd say closer to 40 minutes. So after this has risen for a little bit, now it's not going to raise that much, but it will raise some. Then we'll be back and we'll be ready to roll out the dough. Well, my dough has risen for 40 minutes. and we're ready now to begin the next process. So what I'm going to do is divide this dough into 8 small dough balls. And what I normally do is I weigh mine. But you can eyeball it or you can weigh it. Just cut it into 8 pieces. And when I'm done doing that, I'll be back to show you the rest. I've cut my dough into 8 small dough balls. And I've also turned on my stove after I sprayed it with some cooking spray. I use a griddle on my stove, but you can also cook them up in a pan or your grill, whichever you prefer. So while that's heating up, I'm going to show you the next step, which is to roll out each dough ball. What I do is I place a little flour on my counter and kind of smooth it out there. Then you want some flour on your rolling pin. So what I usually do is just roll it across the flour I have and then rub it off. And I'll take the first dough ball and kind of press it down and flip it over, press it down again. And then you're going to use your rolling pin to roll it out. Now you do want it to be thin so that when it cooks up, it cooks to a really nice size. So we'll roll this one out, and then I'll get another one ready. And by that time, the griddle should be ready to go, and we'll fry these up. I usually try to get at least 3 or 4 already rolled out. Now they're not perfect, but it's okay because when they cook up, they'll look really nice. And this is why you need a scraper, because when we take them off of the counter, we'll need to get it started. So we'll kind of push up on it here. And we'll pull it off and stick it on the griddle. So that's the next step. Okay, my griddle is hot and you may have to adjust it. You'll know when you place the first one on whether you'll need to turn it down. But I kind of lay it on there. And again, it does not have to be perfect. And you'll see that as it's cooking, there'll be bubbles forming, so you know when you need to flip it. And you can check it on the underside too. If it's cooking too fast, then you might want to turn down your temperature. But as you can see, you'll see the bubbles start forming, which means we'll be pretty close to flipping it. So as I said, you'll see the bubbles start to form. Then you can check underneath and see that looks pretty good to me, and we'll flip it over. Now again, the bubbles will start to bring up the dough, but don't worry, they go down when you transfer it over to your cooling rack. So what we're going to do is give it a couple minutes like this. I kind of turn it in different directions in case the griddle is hotter on one side than the other. And then we check the bottom again. And sometimes when you're on the second side, you will see that it gets darker spots, but that's okay too. And as this process goes along and you keep bringing over another piece of dough to cook, it will go fast. So let's check this. And that looks pretty good to me. If you like it a little darker, then you can leave it on for longer. It doesn't take long. But there's the finished product. Now I'm going to bring another piece of dough over and we'll put it on the griddle. Kind of spread it out there. And again, watch your temperature. You want to make sure that it's not cooking too fast, but you do want the griddle to be hot. All right, this is our second one, and we're ready to flip. We'll let it cook up for a couple minutes on this side. And what we're going to do is I'm going to continue cooking the rest of my dough, and we'll see when it's time to taste test. I love naan bread. There are so many different ways that you can use it. Just the way it is, or you can use it if you make hummus or any kind of dip really. Or you could saute some spinach with onions and cut up cherry tomatoes, lay it over top of the naan bread with some feta cheese, and it's a meal in itself. My husband also takes it to work and makes a sandwich out of it. So again, there are so many ways that you can use this bread. And to me, I love making bread, no matter what kind it is. So now my favorite part, time to taste. So I've cut it in little triangles because I'm going to make some hummus, and this will be perfect with it. This is so delicious, and it's light. And you can see how you can use it in so many different ways. You could even make gyros with it. So, if you enjoyed this video and you haven't subscribed, please subscribe and hit the bell icon so that you'll get the latest videos that come out. Also, check out the other videos that'll be popping up on the screen. Maybe one of them will interest you. In the meantime, make it a great day, and blessings.